Okay. So I started my morning at the Unity Worldwide Ministries Convention that's taking place this week in Kansas City. And the business meeting was this morning. Two things. One is I want to say that Unity is a forward moving spiritual path and organization, denomination, if you will. Looking at especially how we started, which was with healing prayer. Started as a prayer ministry, healing prayer. And to Unity intends to stay on the cutting edge of that. They've created some self-guided learning. So if you have a chance and you feel inclined, you can go online to unity.org and see if there's anything that's being offered in terms of self-guided, because it'll be online, right? Self-guided classes for you. What else do I want to say? The leadership, I'm very impressed with the current leadership of Unity Worldwide. Both organizations are led by forward visionary people, thinkers. So we're in good hands. What else did I want to say? Do you remember?
Look at that.
Oh, what was the other thing I wanted to, it'll come to me later. So I have a PowerPoint here that is not going to model exactly the study guide that I've created. The study guide follows the chapters in the book, more or less. And the PowerPoint highlights some things that I wanted to bring to you all regarding prayer. Who knows what the main thing is to remember about Unity prayer?
Always do it.
Always do it, yeah.
It's affirmative.
It's affirmative. It's affirmative. It is. I'll probably get into that as we move along here with the study guide, but it is true that there's no wrong way to pray. Any way that you and I endeavor to connect with the allness of God is fruitful. Unity approached prayer, though, in an affirmative way, pretty much like Jesus did. And it's to not plead or beg, or I don't know, when I was growing up, I used to make deals with God.
Oh, I made one or two myself.
Deals, if you will, I will, one of those. But Unity approaches it from affirm, that is, give thanks that it's so now. So when you heard me pray us in, I was saying, we give thanks for this time being meaningful for everyone. It wasn't, please make this meaningful for everyone. You get the difference? Okay. All right. Any questions before I begin, or we begin? Because we've already begun. We could pass it down that way and around again, okay? All righty, so I got interested in writing about the 12 powers back in, when did I start this? Oh, the early 90s. I went to Unity Village. We used to have, and they're going to rebuild it, I guess. We used to have the best metaphysical library in the world at Unity Village. It was extraordinary. So I started researching the 12 powers, but what I actually was researching was prayer. When I looked at all the stack of books on the desk where I was taking notes and researching, it was all about prayer, hence this book.
Yeah, it went around.
So, you know how I like on Sunday mornings to give you a quote on love, right? Because in the energy of love, that's where miracles happen, right?
Yes, right.
Hello.
right.
Bum, bum, bum. Are we all here?
Wake it up.
In the energy of love, great things happen. So I'm going to do it right now. And this is from a piece called The Architecture of Abundance. So close your eyes and just let the words come in. Divine love, unutterable and perfect, flows into the soul the way that light rushes into a transparent object. The more love that it finds, the more love that it gives out, so that as we grow clear and open, the more complete the joy of loving is. And the more souls who rejoice together, the greater the intensity of their love is mirror-like, each soul reflecting the other's love. So in that, just pause for a moment, don't open your eyes yet, and think of the people that you love. Just let maybe a picture of them come to mind or their name, however you vision the people you love. And then let other things that you love come to mind to fill your heart. So it might be a sunrise, a sunset, the mountains, the ocean, roses, whatever you love. And take a moment and notice what happens inside of you with those thoughts. Take a deep breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Anything happen inside with those thoughts? What did you experience, or what did you notice?
Warm fuzzy.
Warm fuzzy?
Yeah, warm fuzzy.
Great.
Images,
Pardon?
images.
Images. And what did it feel like with the images that came to mind?
Again, like Sig said, warm.
Yeah.
Pleasant.
Feel like connection.
Connection.
I could feel a smile inside my head.
Oh, how cool. How cool. Great. Anybody else? Okay.
Feel love.
Pardon?
Could feel love.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It felt like my heart got bigger. You know, there was an expansion. And so, are we all in the mood for love? I mean, are we all loving right now? Okay, so welcome to those online. Hi, Eileen. Let's all wave to Eileen and
Hi, Ellie.
Cindy and oh, Billy and Stan. Hi, hi, hi. Are you home or are you still out of town, you two? I'm mute.
Oops. Muted. No,
I'm mute.
she's-
There you go. No,
No, it's not working.
no.
They're in Men's Park.
Pardon?
They're in Men's Park outside of Flagstaff.
Oh, you're in Flagstaff.
What is it, smoky?
Okay. Glad you're all here. Hi Dee, welcome back in. Okay, so I'm calling this the miraculous outcomes of prayer.
Mhm.
So I don't know what your prayer life is, you do, what your prayer practice is. But one of the favorite things, one of the most helpful things that I have learned about prayer, have come to believe and notice about prayer, is that the power of it is cumulative. The more we pray, the more spiritual power we have. So it's a good thing to pray. Because, I mean, can you imagine, the more you pray, the more spiritual power you have. Why would that even matter?
Yeah, because you're all prayed up.
You're prayed up and what does that do for you? How are you empowered in that way then?
More. Sounds strange to say more results, but I feel that that if you believe it, it's happened. You get better results if you,
You get better results of your efforts? Or
of your
your
connection.
connection with spirit?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you're open and receptive.
more open and receptive, true. Anybody else?
Helps to reinforce your beliefs.
It helps to reinforce your beliefs, true.
I think there's a positive energy that just goes out
Yes,
within the vibration to everyone.
and why is that so? How can that be true?
Because everything is unity, I guess.
Well, yes, I mean, we are all one, and someone was saying we make the connection, not only with spirit, but with what spirit encompasses. But what I wanted to say about that is, I'm trying to remember what you said. Do you remember what you said?
What did I say?
What a group we are. Okay, I'm gonna have some more coffee right now.
It's going out in
Oh, that's what it was.
energy.
Energy is going out.
Right.
So here's why. Here's why. Because thoughts are energy, and energy is non-local. We can't, we can try to contain it, but it really is non-local. So, so the energy of our thoughts shows here, doesn't it? Shows on our face, and people can feel it oftentimes if they're sensitive to energies. So, so the energy of prayer, which is lifting to us, does something positive. It's a blessing to others,
Right.
as you were saying. Yeah. So when God steps in, miracles happen. So what's this about? We're going to do the class the rest of this month, right? Well, we have one more Wednesday, and then the first two in July. So what I'd like us to consider is that we're just exploring. So we're all on an expedition here. In August, I'm going to be speaking at a church in Florida because of my book, Resilience, Adventures in Resilience. They want me to come down and speak and do a workshop. But I've got a great guy coming to speak for me in August, Reverend Jimmy Scott. And he texted me this morning and said, is there any topic that you would like me to address in August? He said, I want a creative challenge. And I said, okay. Someone has their phone on. Oh. Are all your phones
Down
off?
as far as I could. And then it's playing with me today.
Sometimes
It's
they're
the
like,
phone, right?
Yes. So he wanted something that was a creative challenge, which I think all Sunday talks are. But I said, I was thinking, driving along, okay, here, how about this? For us to ponder as we explore the power of prayer. What is a healing, prospering mindset for our times? What is a healing, prospering mindset for our times, given all that's going on across the spectrum of life here on planet Earth? So let go of that right now. I'm just saying, prayer is about healing and prospering. Can you see that? Okay. Why? Because it's connecting us with the power of all good. So to explore the parallel power of prayer, Kim, would you read the next two for us? Can you see it okay?
Which, to create an open front. and
No, the one above that first.
To inspire a renewed dictation, direction through the practice of prayer.
Yeah. So I hope by being here that you're moved to maybe do something different in your prayer practice or your prayer life, add something, just shake it up a little bit. And then the last one, Ken?
Create an upfront and rewarding personal relationship with God through prayer, experiencing miraculous outcomes.
You know, we should probably say, what is a miracle? How would you all define a miracle, Vicki?
A shift in perception,
Say that again?
a shift in perception.
Yes. It's a shift in perception. That's one perception, but that's one way to look at it. What else?
Something unexpected.
Something unexpected. A miracle is something unexpected.
It's a positive happening that's unexpected.
A positive happening that's unexpected. It is, in unity, we say this, that it is an outworking of a law that we're not yet aware of,
Oh, okay. I like that.
a universal spiritual law that we're not yet aware of. That something is operating in the energy and ethers to create what just happened, that we call a miracle. Okay, any questions or comments so far? Okay, are y'all here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dee, you need one of these. Did you get a study guide?
No.
Let's take a look at the study guide. So this is based on chapters 1 through 3 in the book, and you don't have to buy the book. Of course, I'd be happy if you did.
And it's a great book.
Pardon?
It's a great book.
Ta-da! Thank you.
I will second that.
Really?
Excellent. I
Unbelievable.
was wondering where this book's been my whole life.
I know, it was unbelievable.
I can't get, yeah, I didn't sleep much. I was reading.
Well, you'll learn something about me in the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, open the book of secrets of Sharon. Okay, let's take a look at the quotes for a moment. And looking at your study guide now, the first quote. Someone read that for us.
Prayer makes one master in the realm of creative ideas.
Yeah.
Charles Fillmore.
Fillmore, our co-founder, prayer makes one master in the realm of creative ideas. What does that say to you?
And prayer gives us the opportunity to create the life we want.
Yes. And how would that be so?
Well, if it's affirmative, then we are actually being more positive with our life. And,
Yes.
and thanking God for the things around us.
Yes. So let me give you an example of prayer makes one master in the realm of creative ideas. And we're talking about positive creative ideas, right? Not like, what's the next bank robbery I'm gonna pull?
Yeah.
Think about a time when you had to forgive yourself or somebody else, but you weren't there yet. And remember how that impacted you, how it impacted your energy and your thoughts and your full presence. It impacts. And so if one of our prayers is for forgiveness, in other words, to release a resentment, we're praying affirmatively that God bless that person, right? That's a way to pray affirmatively to be released from the resentment. Can you see the impact that that would have on your own capacity for creative thinking? It frees up a lot of creative energy, doesn't it? Because resentment, we're trying to keep down, and it's kind of dark energy. Any comments or questions there? How we doing? Anyone need coffee?
You're on your affirmations and your denials, where
Yes.
you're denying the thoughts that you were just talking about.
Yes, a
That
denial.
was kind of hard for me to swallow. When I think of denial, I think of denying yourself something you want instead of something you don't want.
Yeah, a denial really is about releasing negative energy, negative thoughts that disturb the calm peace of our soul. And we'll get into that here, denials and affirmations, like in the book. I think it's in the first 3 chapters, right? But denials are very, very powerful cleansers. A denial is one of our 12 powers, actually, related to the power of release, elimination. That's the power that's located at the tip of our tailbone, right, in Russell. And that is a power, it's actually a power. And so as we say, for example, no, and we give to God this negative thought, let's say about someone, over time, it is actually erased. That's the job of our elimination power and denial, to reprogram our consciousness. Well, that was a bit of a diversion. So, so let's go on to the Larry Dawsey quote. Someone read that for us. Thank
Prayer
you.
is one of the essential activities of human life. Throughout history, it has nurtured our grandest visions and provided meaning and purpose to our activities.
Yeah. So Larry Dawsey, have any of you read his books? Any of his books? Yeah. We might have some here in the library. He was the head of, it wasn't oncology, but it might have been at a hospital in Houston, and began to pray with his patients, and noticed that everything about them got better when he prayed with them. You know, their attitude, their emotional life. And so he just started researching prayer, and I think he's written 4 books. The last one that I'm aware of, he may have written one since then, is called One Mind. One Mind. Okay, so let's go to the key ideas, 4 key ideas for chapters 1 through 3. They're not the only key ideas, right? These are not the only key ideas, just 3. So let's start with Linda and go that way, and would the first 4 of you read 1 each?
Okay. Prayer is our connection to the realm of the divine in a way that accesses the infinite resources of God.
I need to tune into the folks online. Thanks, Linda. You online, do you have any questions or comments based on the remarks so far? Eileen, unmute.
My question is, do we have the ability to have the study guide? Because we can't, I mean, we can sometimes hear the people, but we don't know what you're talking about half the time.
Oh, so sorry about that. Would you do me a favor, Darlene? Would you ask Kathy to send Eileen and the folks online the study guide? She'll email it to you. Okay?
Yeah.
Sorry about
Good
that.
idea, right.
Glad you brought it up. Anybody else online have a question or comment? No? Okay. All right. Then let's go to number 2. Jan?
Number 6.
Uh-huh.
It says 6.
Yeah, the numbering system here is not 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'll go to it. There,
Wait.
it says 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I have
on
1,
mine.
2,
Does it say
3,
5,
4.
6, 7, 8 on everybody's?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, it's number 2. I'll read it.
Who has 5, 6, 7, 8? What? I don't know, that's a miracle.
it is, it's one we didn't pray for.
Yeah. Is it the same information? Is it the same information? Does your
Yeah.
number two says there's not a right or wrong way?
No.
Yours-
That's not what.
Yeah, it says, that's what
Okay.
it says, yes.
You're just testing to see for a week.
Thank you, Paul.
I think it's the same stuff. just the
That's,
numbers.
that's
Oh,
I
yeah,
got one
just a different
packet,
number.
we got the other packet over here.
Well,
But it's
you
the
get-
same.
This is, you know, sometimes computers have minds of their own.
I will not.
They do,
I know
it's
already.
true.
They're just
They beat to their own drum.
Okay.
It is, it should be the same, yeah. 5, 6, 7, and 8 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Can't be skipping that. All right, as we were saying, number 2 is
Number
Jan.
two. There is not a right or wrong way to
Which is-
pray.
5, 6, 7, 8. What did we do with these?
There is not a right or wrong way to pray.
There's not a right or wrong way to pray. Here, I'll give you an example again.
Oh, it didn't say 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, I see, the second one. So half of it did 1, 2, 3, 4. The other half, because they have 2 sheets on one page.
Okay, all right, so,
I'm
number
not
2.
finished yet.
I know.
Yet. Yeah, because of the nature of God and the power of thought, there are ways to pray that are more effective than others.
Yes. As I was saying as we began, right? Unity is affirmative prayer. Nevertheless, you know, I mean, there are times when things are very challenging and we might not get affirmative yet. You know what I mean? Like, help! Yeah. So nothing's wrong with that, just when we can get to affirmative, the energy shifts. Okay, thanks, Jan. Ken?
I had a question about
Yeah.
that. I mean, is that actually saying that one way of prayer is ineffective, or you don't feel something, you should try another?
No.
Okay.
I think what I really want to emphasize here is the more we practice praying affirmatively, the more lift we'll get. However, you know, like number 2 says, there's no wrong way to pray. And I don't even want to term it one way is better than another. Effective, I think. Because, I mean, when I stop to think, when I'm saying, God, please help me with this, the energy within me isn't the same as when I say, thank you, God, for making this right. Thank you, God, for your divine order unfolding right here, right now. You know, there's a shift in energy. Can you get there with me?
Yes, and you know, I have this medical background, and there are things that are happening in our bodies when we are angry, hormones and neurotransmitters and whatever, and when we're happy, and they're different, and you feel differently. So I think praying affirmatively, you're releasing all the good chemicals. I don't want to make this sound like a science experiment, but you say you feel different, and you do. You literally feel differently.
There's a biochemical response.
Right.
Anybody online? Help me, you all watch for any hands that go up online.
Yours.
Anybody online?
That was you. You were waving your hand.
Okay, then I'm going on.
Four. Denial and affirmation are the keys that focus and train the mind.
Yeah, there we are, denial and affirmation. So I'll say a couple more things about it.
We missed 3, and that sounds exciting.
1, 2, 3.
Our minds are naturally wild.
Miss Kim, sorry.
The girls outnumber us poor guys. We're gonna be at the bottom of the email.
That's Stan's up there.
Okay,
Number 3.
3, our minds are naturally wild like the wind. Prayer harnesses the energy for constructive use.
Amen.
Have you noticed that about your mind? I've noticed it about mine. Boom, boom, boom. Prayer has a way of pulling the energies together, centering. Okay, any comments about that? No. Any comments? Well, let me say a couple things about number 4. So denials and affirmations. There are lots of examples in the book, by the way. It would be good for all of us to practice denials and affirmations. So what scientists have demonstrated in their research and what theologians, especially metaphysicians, especially Unity, said from the get-go about it is that a denial creates a vacuum. It's just like when you clean your closet out, you have created a vacuum, right?
Well,
Is everyone here?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you see, when you remove something, there is a vacuum. And it's scriptural as well as scientific, biochemical. So every thought creates a space. It takes up space in our mind, could be our subconscious mind, but it's there somewhere, a thought. And so when we let go of that thought, give it to God, give it to the Spirit of God that absorbs it. And now we have a vacuum, and what are we going to fill it with? Hence the affirmation. We don't deny the facts. That's an important thing to know. We do not deny facts. Facts are facts. What we say no to is giving them power in our mind and heart and decisions. So we just deny the power of them to master us because it's our job to master them. Comments or questions there?
You don't put new wine in old wine bags.
That's exactly right.
That's
You can't put new wine in old wineskins. It's scriptural. The other one that I like about that is Jesus tells the parable of a householder who whose home was infested with demons. Now, this is a metaphor, right? A metaphor for our consciousness, our home. It was infested with demons, and so the householder cleaned him out, cleaned out all the demons, and then he went shopping. And when he came back, what he found was the demons had gone out and found all their friends and come back to occupy the house. So, which is to say, fill the vacuum with something positive. Fill the vacuum with something positive. Have you noticed that one negative thought begets another?
Say that again.
Hanging on to one negative thought makes babies. Just like itself. So hence the importance, the usefulness. These are the 2 of the 4 tools of transformation. Denial and affirmation, 1 and 2, prayer and meditation, 3 and 4. 4 tools of transformation. We want to transform our consciousness, hence our life, then we use those 4 tools. Okay, so far? Yeah, Cindy.
The number 2, prayer, no, there is not a right or wrong way to pray.
Yeah.
There's a story about a minister who fell in a well. And his congregation goes, how could you pray in a well? He goes, I've never prayed so hard, being on my head. Like there's no right or wrong.
That's right.
Prayer, no matter what position you're in, not necessarily kneeling or raising your hand up or whatever, there's no right or wrong.
There
Just
is
so
no.
it's done.
Thank you for emphasizing that. It's so important to know that because, I mean, from my perspective, I would love to always have conscious contact with my spirit, with God in me and all around me and in everyone else. It would probably help when I'm disciplining Cleo. Just kidding, I don't discipline. I mean, I don't, I put her in timeout a couple of times and that seemed to do the trick. She doesn't like timeout.
But in the first couple of chapters, I read where there was a I don't want to say better connection, but kneeling.
Yes,
What-
good point, good point. Have any of you tried kneeling prayer?
May not be able to get up.
We can't get up.
For one thing, it's supposed to humble you.
Pardon?
It's supposed to humble you
Yes, yes, yeah,
because you're in a vulnerable position.
yes. Vulnerability and humility, yes.
I went from a Baptist to a Catholic. And I got there and I go, oh, there's kneelers. There's kneelers. And then the priest said, and when we get to heaven, I'm going, we're going to heaven. I've been going to hell all my life. That's a truth. But I said, that's the words, very words, okay?
Say
Long
it again,
time ago.
say it again, Jan.
And when we get to heaven, and I said, we're going to heaven, I've been going to hell all my life. If you're in the Baptist church, you're going to hell. If you do this, you're shaking your heads, you know.
Gospel also.
Yes.
Any comments from you folks online? Can you hear us okay? Or should I be repeating? You can hear? Okay. Because we got new mics. I hope you guys can hear.
We can hear, and I just got the email from Kathy, so now maybe I can follow along on my phone.
Oh, great, great. Okay, so let's go to the discussion questions. And number 1 says, share the highlights of your spiritual journey. What were turning points? And what I would like you to do is have a partner to listen to and share with. So find a partner. And let me see, we have Linda and Jan Grace, Dee and Ken, to okay. And Joy and Vicky, okay? Are we good? So take a moment. The person with the longest hair starts. Person with the longest hair. And online. Cindy, Eileen. Just take a moment. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? And show her. So, yeah, Sam steps. Jan was just saying, she started in the Baptist church. And then started in the real life. But just take a moment and look at your own spiritual journey. And what were the turning points? And like, your turning points. Turning points in your life. So just reflect right now. I ask you to share. Did you ever take? I think, speaking for myself, I think that I was doing those things. Yeah, because I wanted to operate through some things. So.
Sometimes that it's when taking pictures of stuff, you might take a break. Get that cold or okay, let's get back to the basics and all that stuff. That's where it helps.
Right, I think what it does is it works that self-thing. And focuses on that's the direction. That's
Be sure you change partners now.
Should eventually get out. Which whatever, keep missing each other. That when that.
One more minute, one more minute.
Well, even I was a little girl, I used to whatever. But when I realized that I was special about this was when I was I can't do that. There you go.
Quiet. Thank you. I'm gonna start with the folks online. So would you each take just maybe a minute and share something about your own spiritual journey and any turning point? We'll start with you, Eileen. I mean, if you don't want to share.
I'd say that my major turning point recently was when I met you in California and learned about unity and began practicing unity principles and taking classes. It's helped me tremendously and made me a much better person.
And now you're on the board. See what happens? Cindy?
Yes, yeah, I too discovered unity in California many, many, many years ago. And it was always, it resonated that this is what I believed and felt all my life, and finally found the answer. And it's been with me all that time.
Thank you. Billy?
No,
Unmute. How can I unmute you?
and that should do it.
You just didn't.
No, it didn't work.
I think they're having trouble with their mic.
I wonder if Kathy has to unmute her. We can't,
They might not have
When-
a microphone.
can't hear you.
When they signed on, they might not have
Maybe
signed
the
it
Internet
right.
Explorer,
Huh?
maybe the Internet Explorer, Microsoft cut that off today.
Really?
Yeah, not supporting it anymore as of today.
Okay, I need someone to have Kathy check on Billy, and here goes on check on them. So let me, I'm gonna turn here for a minute, Billy. Here, so what was it like sharing your spiritual journey so briefly? Because we all have sagas about that, I'm sure.
It's interesting.
Anyone want to share? Yeah, Cindy.
I was just telling Darlene that in the question, it kind of said the highlight But I wanted to say that the low point, hang on. The low point was when our child died. And as I told Darlene, I was cursing God.
Yeah.
And I was so angry. And I said to my 3-year-old at that time, let's bring some flowers to Amanda's grave. And she looked at me with these big brown eyes and goes, why? Let's just plant some in the back, she can see them.
Oh.
And I did a 360-degree turn.
You see, this is how we can tell.
That is amazing.
But it goes away and we can't still.
So Billy and Stan can't unmute.
They're not muted.
We can't hear
They're coming through the phone.
Do
them.
they,
They're on their, so I can't call
do they turn on their speaker?
them. They're coming, it looks like, see, it's a phone number. They're coming through with a phone, an iPhone, I believe. And if they're on an iPhone, they have a speaker. So they're not muted. Now you're muted.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
when
but
you-
even when they unmute, we
I
can't
know.
hear
And if you,
But they can hear you, so just let them know
them.
that.
Jan?
We're going up there, we'll tell them.
I tried calling them, but it looks like they're on their phone. They're using the phone.
Do you have a speak, Billy and Stan, do you have a speaker button on your phone? You got her all stirred up. We have nothing. Okay.
They can know how to, I'm gonna go, admit it, or Eileen just came in. Do you guys know how to text? Using your Zoom, you can chat, and you could send your chat, your conversation, if for some reason your mic's not working, you can chat. You want me to call you?
Yeah, call them, yeah.
I'm gonna give you a call, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Cleopatra can't stand to be alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were with Jan, right?
Yeah.
You want me to talk?
I would love for you to talk.
I was telling Linda, I had an experience when I had my first child 50 years ago. And as a new mother, I was so tired. I was in the middle of the night and I went back and laid on the bed and I put my hand out and I said, God, if you're here, hold my hand. Well, I expected a hand. I didn't get one. I got this smell. It smelled like a rose.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'm like, now I sell perfumes and I don't like Joy perfume. It's made with roses. And I'm going, I didn't ask for a rose. I asked for a hand. But this rose came back and I found out that in Israel, that's where they grow roses the most anywhere. It was a moment that I had with God.
Yeah.
I can still smell the rose when I think about it. And it's a nice story to tell and share with you.
Wow. So isn't that miraculous?
Who expected a rose?
From saying, I need a hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So let me go back to Cindy for a minute. And your little 3-year-old daughter that said, plant flowers in the garden because the little, was it a boy?
No, it's girl.
A little girl, she can see him.
Mhm. Yeah, that was beautiful.
What did that do for you?
It brought me out of the anger
Mm.
and into the light.
Mm.
And like I said, I took her words to heart. And I was able to move. I had gotten stuck in the breathing process.
Yeah.
And she helped me to move on.
Isn't that amazing? God speaking through a 3-year-old. Thank you for that. Who else? Share a little bit of your journey and a turning point, maybe?
I had kind of a similar experience. Yeah.
We had, again, I shared about losing Amanda.
Yeah.
And saying how she was handling it emotionally, I'm handling it rationally. My parents were telling her, like, don't talk to them. And we needed to talk.
Yeah,
It was the closest we ever got to getting a divorce, because we were handling it, not supporting, but opposites.
yeah,
And luckily, one of my parents' neighbors who we knew was always very positive, and we said, well, let me go talk to her, and we went to talk to her. And we said, well, whatever you have, that's what we want. And that's how we got introduced to New Thought.
Oh,
And
okay,
it's like, well, yeah, it's trying to explain the thing, and which really helped us to start talking and resolving. In fact, we helped start Compassionate Friends at Hinsdale Hospital. Because there are other parents,
yeah,
if they're gonna have the same situation,
yeah,
you need to have that support group.
yeah,
So a lot of positive things came out of it once we got ourselves centered.
yeah.
Realized, you know,
So that kind of takes me back to that, what we said at the outset, you know, the first quote, that prayer makes you master in the realm of creative ideas. So just that opening, and then what came out of that, Compassionate Friends at Hinsdale. Pretty amazing. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Betty?
I fortunately was acquainted with Unity ever since I've
Loud
been,
and clear.
I was acquainted with Unity ever since I was a little girl. My grandmother bought me a subscription to, oh heck, and I just forgot.
We Wisdom?
No, We Wisdom, yeah. And I've been buying that for my kids and so forth. And so I've always felt that I could talk with God, that we would have conversations. But what really came home when I was going through a divorce, didn't know where I was going to be going, what's going to be happening. And I started waking up in the middle of the night and the poetry would come to me. And for instance, one of them said, oh God, my God, let's see, why have you forsaken me? I have such fear, such pain, such sorrow. I don't know how to face tomorrow. And then went on and saw the light and was encouraged and helped with that. So I guess that was where I realized that this is real. We are really communicating with spirit, with whatever. And so many times our minds are just so cluttered up that we can't hear it. But when we,
When?
excuse me, it's supposed to be an I story, okay. And that still happens, that when you're panicking, those panicky thoughts make too much static that you can't hear the message.
Who can't?
I can't hear the message. And I'll bet you can't either. But anyway, that's my story, that it's real.
Thank you.
Listen, it's real.
Thank you. What a gift to start in Unity as a child. Anybody else? Yes.
My first journey, I started reading a lot of books. Reading, I couldn't get enough. And then I started realizing I really need to put it into practice and to really work on it. And so when I really started putting it into practice, I started seeing lots of results. And that really encouraged me even more so.
Yes. What was one of the results that you noticed?
Well, there's many, feeling assured, feeling that being open and receptive and the desires of the heart are met.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of what's going on at in Kansas City right now at our convention. And our convention has the business meeting, but we have 2 or 3 days of a number of workshops that we get to choose from. And what I noticed was that many of the workshops offered had to do with diversity and inclusion. And it just got me thinking that Unity, I don't know if this has been your experience when you first found Unity, but for me, Unity has always been inclusive. Now, not every church is as diverse as others, You know, here in Sun City, I mean, there is diversity, but I don't see a lot of it in our church, do you?
No.
Like, we don't have a kids program right now. We don't have a lot of Spanish in our church. We don't have a lot of African Americans in our church. But nevertheless, unity teaches inclusivity. So while we might not be seeing it on Sunday mornings, we have it here in our hearts, I think, right? Right?
Yeah.
They would all be welcome.
Pardon?
They would all be welcome.
All be welcome, all be welcome with open arms, right? Open arms. Anybody, Cindy or Eileen, do you want to speak to this at all?
I've always felt very welcome, and it's like almost everybody, when I met them at Unity Spiritual Center, felt like a friend that I've known forever, and I just feel like family there.
Yeah, thank you. Cindy, any comment?
Yes, I feel the same way, and I always have been. No matter which Unity church I had been going to, from one of the very biggest ones to these little or smaller communities, everybody, we were all family, but we were all family in spirit as well. And I think that our souls all resonated to that we were all welcome on a soul level.
Great.
And that's what I liked.
Well said, well said. Anyone else before we take a look at the second one?
Myself, the only time I've been to a Unity church, I've been to about 4 or 5 other ones. This is the only church that I felt welcome and part of the family at.
Really?
Really. The one out on 32nd and Greenway, not so much. I felt like an outsider. One I went to back in South Carolina, felt like an outsider.
Really?
I was, might as well say I was shunned because I tried to start conversation. I'm basically a friendly person. And they just didn't speak to me. But I came here and I felt the love in this church.
Good, good.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
I know, but I'm happy I'm here.
Yeah, because I come from Unity Phoenix,
yeah.
so just
It's,
makes me
it's,
sad to hear that.
it's not like what we teach, is it?
No, not at all.
And on the other side of the spectrum, my daughter in Gainesville, Florida, I think you're familiar with that, went to the Unity Church there, and they all wanted to hug her, and she wouldn't go back. Because I don't want to.
Yeah,
too much. Yeah.
Because they don't. And that's what we do.
I know. We do here, don't we? Not recently
That
with
was COVID, yeah.
COVID, but
But I try not to hug without the recipient's permission.
yes, yeah. Yes, I've had more discussions at the board level, not in this church, but in other Unity churches I've served about hugging. Because some people don't want to get hugged. And oftentimes in Unity, it's kind of like an automatic, come into my arms. Yeah, Jan.
Up in Prescott, they give you stuffed animals and
Oh,
and you're like, this is nice. You don't want to hug somebody, you hug a stuffed animal. I've seen them do this.
always.
They took them away recently, but it was Dr. Min, no, I've been there.
Thank you.
But I think that's an alternative to hugging a person, isn't it? Why they did that?
You know, that's a good question. I have no clue. I would have to ask Tom. Remember when Tom was here speaking?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When I was attending Unity of Phoenix, I invited a friend to come. And of course, I said, well, how did you like it? She said, oh, it's too much love going on there.
Too much love.
Too much love. And I was shocked.
Really, huh?
Yeah.
Too much love. Well, there you go. What's a healing mindset for our times? Okay, thank you all for sharing. I so appreciate it. So let's take a look at number 2 if you're ready. How would you describe the God of your understanding? So this is, in my book, I cover this a lot in the first couple chapters. How would you, but I mean, it's a personal thing, right? What you read in the book is unity teachings that saved my sanity, so. So what is your,
Let the shawls back in.
what?
Can you let the shawls back in, admit?
Like, oh, sorry. Coming back.
Sure.
Oh,
Billy,
Billy and Stan, you're back, yay. We think you're back.
there.
There you are. Hi. Welcome back. Are you there? Can you unmute?
Can you hear us?
Yay.
So we had to go out and come back. And meanwhile, up the microphone on Stan's computer. So we're back.
Oh,
Sorry.
fabulous. So we've been talking about our spiritual journey and turning points, and then currently we're talking about, we're considering our understanding of God. How would you describe your understanding?
You asked me.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think of God like electricity. It's a force that's everywhere, and a positive force for life, for creativity, for love, for harmony and peace. And so to tap into that is my intention. I don't personalize God in the sense, I've worked hard not to personalize God in the sense that I grew up with. So I'm in danger sometimes of making it too impersonal, but it's always available. It's in me and all around me. So sometimes I think that Star Wars has the right idea. It's a force, a positive force that dominates the universe.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stan, you want to say anything?
I would simply go along with most of what Billy just said. Mainly was, for me, was getting rid of the old concept of the old man in the sky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So how about out here? I like that metaphor of electricity.
Mhm,
So, and we're the plugs.
mhm.
We plug into the outlet via our thoughts. You know, there's a song that says every thought's a prayer, and we're always praying. And think about this. For me, that speaks to what you were saying, Billy, that there is a field of all possibility. And we can call it God, we can call it anything we want. And many these days are calling it a field of all possibility, Deepak Chopra for one.
Mhm.
And my thoughts pierce the field of all possibility, for better or for worse. So what I think about, I bring about. That's the principle, right?
Mhm.
What I think about, I bring about, for better or for worse. So I've also read it said this way: God always says yes. The field of all possibility always says yes to our thoughts. And I want to add, there's a mystery to it all. I talked about it Sunday, right? Embrace mystery. Whereas there is a mystery to life, and what goes on here that we as human beings try to explain and understand. And that's all. We can just try to understand it and reconcile to it, to what we see. So I think of crib death, for example. Or I don't know how your child died, but there are such things that we can't control, and and can't make sense of for a while. Except to have a 3-year-old say, the soul is always seeing. And so the point is, for me, the point is, I gave you my disclaimer, right? Take what you like and leave the rest. The point is, what am I going to think right now? What is the most helpful thing for me to ponder or entertain or embrace right now? To embrace loving somebody, to embrace what brings me joy and do it. You were saying, I think it was you, right, Benjo, said you decided to practice. Read, and now let me practice.
Sharon.
Yes.
Darlene was saying that she searched all over gurus and all over for God, and then stopped to find God inside herself.
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat.
It is, isn't it? And pause for a moment, y'all, and consider. If you say, I find God inside myself, how are you experiencing finding God inside yourself? Jan.
Okay, when Ken and I were married for 4 years, we didn't have children. And then we had 2 children, and it got kind of busy, as your life does. So we decided to go to a marriage encounter with the Catholic Church. And yeah, I went to Catholic Church for that. And so we got there, we were committed to finding out how to talk to each other. Well, we did. What that church gave us was the perspective of looking at each other's eyes and listening and looking at the eyes. Now, when you talk to your spouse, you look at their eyes and you talk to them. And we didn't have children to interrupt, the telephone to interrupt. We were there by ourselves. And we couldn't talk to anybody else about their careers. There were doctors, there were professors, I knew them. And we learned to enjoy talking to each other that way. And this church taught us that. And there was a retreat, and it was a good retreat because it gave us a romantic evening with wine and the whole thing, you know. We enjoyed ourselves. And that's why we're married 53 years, because we look at each other. I mean, we do fight, anybody does. But that's when you come back and this is my friend. I'm your friend. If you don't work it that way, you're always arguing.
Yeah. Beautiful. So it's an experience of communion is the way I would describe it. What you just said, Jan, that looking deeply, right?
Yes.
Deeply at one another allows the love that's always there. Yeah, great. Who else can comment about how do you experience? Well, we're still talking about the God of your understanding. And how do you experience the God of however you describe to yourself what you really deep in your heart believe about God, have come to believe about God. How do you experience God? So Jan was saying, this eye contact with Kim, that is an experience of communion.
You have to repeat back to each other what you heard too.
Say it again.
You repeat back what you
Oh,
heard.
what you heard, yeah.
Because what somebody tells you, you may hear different.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Are you really listening?
Yes. But that's one of the good things we were taught.
Yes.
And we did listen, thank goodness to that.
Yes. How else, ladies and gentlemen? Online, how do you experience God? So when you're plugged in, Billy, what is the electricity doing?
Well, it's bringing me insight. It's making me feel joyful,
Good.
plugged into possibility, positive, loving. And so all of those things tend to make in any situation better.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, when I tune into the essence of God's feeling, I feel assured, I feel blessed, I feel joyful.
Joyful.
And it's a joyful, blissful feeling.
Yes. 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 Or how about grateful?
Yeah.
Yes.
How about peaceful? So in Unity, we describe, this is kind of going back to the new member class. In Unity, we describe the spirit of God, the energy of God as love, as life. You know, when we feel alive, whether that's encouraged, uplifted, positive, however you describe feeling alive. God is substance. So when we're feeling like all is well, like we don't feel lacking, you know, those kinds of thoughts. We say God is power. So when we're feeling our own power rather than disempowered, like victimized. See, God isn't about victims, right? God is the allness of good. God is the substance of all good. What else do we say about God? Love, life, power, substance, wisdom, which is what Billy said, insight. She experiences spirit as having an insight. Eileen?
I feel an actual energy in my chest, like a welling up of energy that you can't deny it. It's just there and it's so powerful.
Yes. Yes, thank you. So you feel an energy and sort of an expansion. Yeah. Cindy, any comments?
Well, I feel the energy all around me, and it just, when I have a downtime and I'm needing an answer and things are just not going well, a walk outside to nature, and if I can touch, that's touching God to me, and I can feel that resonance just comes over me in a calmness, and it's like almost like the old Scarlett O'Hara saying, tomorrow I'll think about it. The answer always comes the next day.
Great.
Yes, and I just have to wait and let that energy get in my soul and calm me, and don't try to make it happen. My biggest downfall.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good one. We don't have to make it happen, force solutions. I was just recalling a story of, you all know who Robert Schuller is or was? So I was in Robert Schuller's first, what did he call it? I don't know if he called it homiletics, I can't remember. That he did at the Crystal Cathedral years ago. And there were ministers from other denominations other than his and mine. And I remember him saying, when he was getting ready to write a sermon, talking about insight and connection and getting quiet, which is part of prayer, right? Silence the thinking and just make that connection with spirit. He said he prepares for his sermons by getting in a hot bath. And he just soaks in the hot bath and then apparently after that, then these insights and ideas for his sermon come. So whatever you and I do, that's a part of our prayer life, to make that connection or that makes the connection is so empowering and insight. Then we become open to the input of spirit, creative ideas. Anybody else? Should we look at 3? If you practice prayer, why do you pray and what happens when you do? We've kind of been talking about that, haven't we?
Sometimes I use prayer as a last resort. If I can't cognitively solve a problem,
Yeah.
I wrestle it and talk to friends about it. And it's like, okay, well, that's not working. Let me try to surrender to prayer.
Yeah.
Because prayer sometimes requires a lot more patience.
Yes, it
You know, it's a process.
Yes.
And in this microwave world we live in, it's a little bit more contrary to that. So prayer just helps me to surrender.
Great.
I can't give up.
Great. It's true, right? In this busy world, I mean, we're amping up, right? The electricity, we're being asked to up our, do we call it watts or amps, you scientists? Whatever.
Both, yeah.
Because our volts, right?
Mhm.
We gotta go from 220 to 350. Because things are happening fast. Yeah, really?
In terms of number 3, I often pray to express my gratitude, because even if I don't feel grateful when I start, I'm reminded of the things that I need to feel grateful for and do end up feeling grateful for, and that changes me and the situation.
It sure does, doesn't it?
It reminds me of that chapter in the last book, Welcome Everything.
Yes. Push nothing away.
Push nothing away.
That's a spiritual practice.
That's a huge spiritual practice. I get a lot of prayer for that one.
Yes. Anybody else commenting here? Okay. So there's a practice. If you look at 2 things under practice, try something different regarding your prayer life. Say grace, pray in at a different time, in a different place, just something to change it up. I gotta think of something myself. Just for one day, dedicate yourself to pay close attention to your thoughts and say no to the ones that are not helpful, yes to those that are, which is the denial and affirmation. The denial and affirmation tools that we talked about. See if I want to show you anything else here before we close. Asking you shall receive, seeking you shall knock, knocking you, it shall be open to you. That's a challenging one, isn't it? Asking you shall receive. How many times have I asked and not received what I asked for? But I got something else instead. So, so in our prayer life, at least in my prayer life, to be very, very present about asking. And, you know, in a spiritual program I'm in, it's ask for love, don't ask always for things. Ask for spiritual nourishment. So in gratitude leads into that. This is kind of off the edge there, but Joseph Jaworski wrote a book that I just love called Synchronicity. So this week I invite you all to look for synchronicity in your life. You know, where things work out beyond what you have planned. Just little surprises that when I see those, I say, thank you, God. You know, I don't take those for granted. I'll give you an example of what happened, or maybe I should save it for Sunday. Oh, no, Billy's speaking, sorry. So my daughter, Jennifer, has, Cleopatra, has a boyfriend, or, someone that she's known for 15 years has been off again, on again. So it was off again. And I was minding my own business yesterday on my iPhone. And I don't even know if I might have been looking for a photograph, because I think Mac asked me for a picture of my son. Anyway, I'm looking for a picture of my son, and out of nowhere, I mean, I don't even remember taking this picture, okay? It's a picture of my daughter and her boyfriend. That's off again right now, right? So without all the details, I sent the picture to her and I said, remember this? And she calls me and says, Mom, did you know today is Chris's birthday? And I don't want to call him and say happy birthday. I said, well, Jennifer, that picture came out of nowhere. I mean, that's a sign. What are the odds? Tell me, what are the odds that that picture would come up on the day of this guy's birthday? And she's contemplating out of anger. I'm going to show you, I'm going to be stubborn here. I'm not going to call you and say happy birthday. So look for those. I mean, not exactly like that, but a little synchronous experience in your life. So he said, I discovered that people are not really afraid of dying. They're afraid of not ever having lived, not ever having deeply considered their lives' higher purpose, and at least tried to make a difference. I love that quote. So see if that's true for you. See if, remember from our last vote, don't wait. Okay, any closing comments? Pause a moment and think about what you might take away from our discussions today or the questions. You don't have to tell me, just think about it for a minute. What are you going to take into your day out of considering your prayer life and what prayer is? And let's pray out. Spirit of all that is bright and beautiful, Spirit of goodness, we give thanks that your presence in each of us has been so kindled in this time together that we experience your presence in our lives, your beautiful presence in our lives during this day. And so we give thanks as we go into this day that we are feeling and experiencing being truly blessed. I say this now, Lord, knowing that my words penetrate the allness of your goodness and return to the receivers in their fullness. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you all for being here.
I put a little electrical thing in that bag for you to figure out.
All the sugar up here before you leave.
Hey, there's a hook on it. that I
Bye, you
can't
guys.
see.
Thank you. Thank you.
I cut it. No, it's not, it's plastic. It's corrugated plastic.
Oh, you do? Oh, it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I kept feeling it. I felt like fire.
By counseling, by sharing your friend, journaling, it's like, okay.
I couldn't get it plugged in.
Yeah, that would be. It's not wired, she wants to get out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be. Okay, we can. Price tagging. I'll let you know how it is. Yeah. I will.
I lived by the minister in the hospital, Colorado. Anyway, where were you at? Yours. In one pocket.
Wow. How long ago was we got there? I went home and I told Doug, because we're at the breakfast table.
Anyway, thank you.
And,
See you next
you're
week.
welcome. I can't believe they ended this baby after a week. You know, and my little guy goes. Beautiful flower. We're like, I told them. You know, I thought it was another word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, used to be a bug, but-
Dandelion wind to
Oh,
the chin speed.
I remember when you stayed once, when I was in high school, for a filing. Are you Polish, sir?
No. He's German.
wow.
Swedish. I'm Italian and Scottish.
I tried my.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've done my.
Don't bend over.
Okay, thank you.
No bending.